Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan Elron.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a lightning visit to Moscow to hold talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The premier thanked the Kremlin for contributing to the mutual battle against Islamist extremism in the Middle East. He also called on Putin to take steps to prevent Iran from establishing a permanent presence in Syria. Both Moscow and Tehran are fighting in the Syrian civil war on behalf of the Damascus regime of Bashar al-Assad. But Putin is seen as holding the balance of power in achieving any deal regarding Syria's future. The hardline Islamic Republic is suspected of seeking to expand its foothold in the area by setting up military bases on the Syrian side of the Golan Heights. That territory is located just over Israel's northeastern border, and such a plan would provide a new Iranian front against the Jewish state.
Iranian aggression also topped talks in Washington between Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman and U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis. The Israeli defense chief was greeted by a full military honor guard at the Pentagon for his first official visit to the American capital since President Donald Trump took office. The two military leaders also discussed the shifting of political dynamics in Syria and Lebanon and agreed on the need to establish a coalition of moderate forces to counter terrorism. Both men reaffirmed the unwavering bond shared between their two nations, which they emphasized in turn helps to facilitate global stability.
In a rare act of unity, all 100 U.S. senators have signed an open letter denouncing the nationwide spike in anti-Jewish activity as unacceptable, un-American, and cowardly. The bipartisan document was sent to the White House, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the U.S. Attorney General. Multiple waves of bomb threats and vandalism have been targeting Jewish facilities across America since the start of the year. The lawmakers said that failure to address and deter these acts will place innocent people at risk. They're urging the Trump administration to devote its full resources to confront the threats, as well as provide federal assistance to help the victims and enhance security measures.
Israelis were devastated when residents in their closest Middle East ally, Jordan, gave a hero's welcome to one of the kingdom's soldiers upon his release from prison. Ahmed Dhamse served 20 years behind bars for having used his military weapon to shoot 7 Israeli schoolgirls to death in 1997 while they were on a field trip at a site between the countries called the Island of Peace. 8 other young Israeli students were injured in that attack. The killer's mother has expressed deep pride in her son's actions. She says they please Allah and lifted up the entire Arab and Islamic nation. In the past, Dhamse has commented that his only regret is that his gun misfired, which prevented him from killing all of the children. He also says that he will repeat his actions if given the opportunity.
Israel marked its debut at the World Baseball Classic with an exciting winning streak that seemed unstoppable. After early victories over South Korea, Taiwan, and the Netherlands at the opener in Seoul, the Jewish Cinderella squad glided into the second round in Tokyo by clobbering Cuba. But in a rematch with the Netherlands, it was Team Israel that took a pounding. Before the tournament, the Israelis were given the lowest ranking of any of the 16 participating international teams. The World Baseball Classic is held every 4 years, and even though the event is still in the early innings of its development, it's becoming increasingly popular around the globe. The championship round will be held March 20th and 21st at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. The Jerusalem-based Mobileye startup has just been purchased by industry giant Intel for more than $15 billion. The deal marks the greatest amount ever paid for an Israeli enterprise. It's worth noting that many of the company's operations will remain in Israel. Mobileye became a world leader in the autonomous driving field by producing advanced, high-performance computer vision processors. Even before the chart-topping sale, Mobileye was working with BMW to put the first fleet of self-driving test vehicles on the road by the end of this year. A project between all 3 companies to release totally driverless cars is set to be completed around the year 2021. Prime Minister Netanyahu offered his personal congratulations to Mobileye, saying the firm has helped make Israel into a technological powerhouse and it serves as a symbol of national pride.
It's often been said that every overturned stone in Israel can lead to a remarkable treasure. And this came true once again during the installation of a water pipeline to Jerusalem. Suddenly, an extraordinarily well-preserved 2,000-year-old road began to surface, dating back to the Roman era. It's believed to have been constructed for Emperor Hadrian's visit to the Holy Land around the year 130 of the Common Era. Several ancient coins dropped those many years ago were discovered still lodged between the stones of the pavement. One bearing the image of Pontius Pilate was minted in the year 29. Another originated during the Great Jewish Revolt against the Romans in the year 67. That means that when this currency came into being, worshippers were still offering prayers at the majestic Second Temple in Jerusalem 3 years before its destruction by the Romans.
Jews around the world celebrated the holiday of Purim this past week. The festival is embraced by the wearing of costumes of biblical characters or even superheroes. The celebration commemorates the historic pardoning of the Jews of Persia by King Ahasuerus after it was decreed that they would be executed. Many people draw parallels between the madman Haman, who hated the Jews and plotted their annihilation, with the leaders of the modern-day Persian Empire, which is Iran. Officials in the rogue Islamic State have repeatedly declared their intention to wipe Israel off the map and are working to obtain the weapons to do so. The story of Purim is written in the biblical book of Esther. It holds the reassuring message in these uncertain times that if we are diligent and faithful, God will find a way to save the chosen people, just as He did in Persia more than 2,000 years ago.
Israel, the light unto the nations, today faces attack from more than just rockets and terrorism. Calls to boycott, sanction, and divest from Israel, known as BDS, are a form of economic warfare that you can help to prevent. The Israel Allies Foundation has launched a public service campaign called Defeat BDS, offering educational tools and other resources that you can use to stand with Israel and help make a difference. Just visit the easy-to-use website at www.defeatbds.org.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful sunny day on our rooftop studio. My guest today is David Sussman, host of the new hit show Land of the Bible. David, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Josh.
David, tell our viewers a little about yourself.
Well, Josh and everybody else out there, I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts, and have spent the last 16 years of my life living here in Israel. I grew up in a typical Reformed Jewish family and found a deeper connection to God and to the Bible while serving in the Israeli army.
It's interesting what you were saying. You know, myself, I was a lone soldier and I came here, but you came from a Reformed background and now you're a practicing Jew. How did that come about?
Well, you know, Josh, it was actually incredible what happened. I was serving in a unit in Lebanon during the Second Lebanon War in 2006 when there was an ambush from Hezbollah fighters on my unit. There was 12 soldiers who were killed in that ambush, and I had what I call my near-death experience, and it kind of woke me up a little bit to my reality and the way that I relate to the world that drove me to want to discover more about who I was as a Jew and as a human being. And through this self-discovery, I became more observant.
Well, Land of the Bible is a huge success. It started off as a 5-minute segment on Israel Now News. Now it's a feature series on its own. What's the origins of that program?
Because of our loyal viewers out there, literally millions of people who are watching this program, Daystar, as well as the Ministry of Tourism, saw the popularity and decided to turn it into its own half-an-hour program.
You know, what's really amazing is I travel all over the world and Christians come out to me all the time asking about David Sussman, but a lot of them actually think you're an actor that's on the show to come and explain about Israel, but you're really a tour guide. Tell us a little bit about that.
First of all, Josh, I have to say I'm so humbled by the fact that there are literally millions of people tuning into the show and gaining so much more knowledge about Israel and its people, the biblical history, and how much more they're going to gain by tuning into the half-an-hour program. It is true, I'm not an actor, I'm actually a tour guide, and I have my own touring company bringing in groups of various faiths and backgrounds who want to explore Israel more in depth. And if you want to learn more about those opportunities, please visit my website at davidsussmanisraeltours.com.
David, you know, one of the things that's amazing is that not everyone can come to Israel. People use the land of the Bible as a way to visit Israel without actually having to make the trip. But at the same time, you don't get the real feeling of being in Israel. Why is it so important to actually physically come to Israel as well?
You know, it's interesting, Josh. As I started to become more observant, I actually read the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, for the first time. And I'm wandering around this land and I'm opening up its pages and I'm seeing the way that the fortresses are described. I'm seeing the way that the walls were built, how it's described in the Bible, and now I'm seeing it with my own eyes. So when you're here and you open up the scriptures, it literally comes to life. It becomes 3D, it becomes real, it becomes tangible. You can touch it and you can understand so much more by actually walking in the footsteps of those biblical characters.
Well, one of the things that we saw with the launch of Land of the Bible is we got to really visit a place like Ir David, King David's city. That was the first episode. From that point on, people have been asking me, what's up? What's going to be next? You know, what are the other places you're going to see? Can you give us a little hints of what's going to come down the pipeline?
First of all, Josh, that first episode, the city of David, it was absolutely incredible, and it was only even a window in what's to come. We have been traveling around Israel for several months already filming for this television series. We have 52 episodes coming up, covering various biblical sites, modern sites, early Zionism sites. People can tune into this program, both enriching their biblical knowledge, but also getting a much deeper sense of who the Jewish people are, what Israel is all about.
Since the launch of the 5-minute segment, there's been an increase in Christian tourism towards Israel. Do you anticipate that trend continuing with the launch of the half-an-hour program?
I sure hope so, Josh. I'm hoping that when people view this program and they see everything that Israel has to offer and the immense knowledge that you can gain from coming here, that it's only going to build that desire that already exists inside of them to come here to Israel. And if I can just mention one other point. When you go to the place that's just over my shoulder here, the Temple Mount, you can walk up the original stairs that led to the temple 2,000 years ago. Now, for me as a Jew, I have no doubt that my great-great-grandparents 2,000 years ago walked on those very stones. But for Christians to come here, they too should know that Jesus would have walked on those stones as well, side by side with my grandparents.
Dave, there are literally tens of millions of people watching from around the world. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
You know, everybody out there should just know that the Bible says in the book of Genesis, and I'm quoting God here, that He's given this land of Israel, to the descendants of Abraham, the Jewish people, forever. So if you don't think God is a liar, or He changes His mind at the flip of a dime, or He was confused, then you must support Israel and you must come here and you must understand that this is the biblical narrative, that the Jewish people are back here, that Israel is once again open to all people from all backgrounds and from all faiths.
Thank you, David, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayesod.
Shalom and welcome to the Return to Zion with Karen Hayesod. I'm Eliezer Moody Sandberg, World Chairman of Karen Hayesod, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. After World War II, an extraordinary effort was launched with the funds raised by Keren HaYesod donors to bring home the survivors of the Holocaust to the land of Israel. This is the story of clandestine immigration of the survivors of the Holocaust to their ancient homeland.
For 2,000 years, the Jewish people, scattered and dispersed throughout the four corners of the globe, never gave up on the improbable dream of returning home to Israel. Jews everywhere prayed to the Lord, "May our eyes see you return to Zion with mercy." The impossible suddenly appeared within reach when the mighty British Empire issued the Balfour Declaration in 1917, recognizing the Jewish people's right to their historic and spiritual homeland. But as the dark clouds gathered over Europe, the door to the land of Israel was not yet open. Under Arab League pressure, the British ruthlessly restricted Jewish immigration. As the world looked on, Keren HaYesod, alongside Jews already in the land of Israel, banded together and took on the challenge. They launched a clandestine naval operation, codenamed Aliyah Bet, to save their brethren from the clutches of Nazi Germany and bring them to Israel, fulfilling Ezekiel's prophecy of bringing dry bones to life. With careful organization and ingenuity, these brave souls defied the British authorities. Makeshift, rickety boats set sail from ports across Europe, transporting a wretched human cargo of men, women, and children desperately seeking refuge. But the might of His Majesty's Navy stood in their way. Time and again, those who had escaped the gas chambers gazed longingly at Israel's coast, the land of freedom in their midst, only to be defied by the British and turned back to Europe. Fruma Galant was just such a little girl when she traveled to Israel on the SS Exodus during the Ha'apala. Upon its arrival to the port of Haifa, the ship was deported back to Europe, thus making it a symbol of the many hardships Jews had to face during the time of Aliyah, immigrating to their historical homeland.
ראינו את אוניות הבריטים, המשחטות שלהם, מסביב כמו דגי טרף כל הזמן. כמו שאנחנו נסענו, הם נסעו. ואז הגיע היום, ראינו שהאוניות מתחילות להתקרב אלינו, וגם ראינו את חיפה, את האורות כבר. וכולם התחילו לשמוח מאוד שרואים אורות, אבל אני מבינה שהיו אנשים שהבינו מתחיל קרב וזה. הם התחילו לשחק כדורגל, האנגלים עם האונייה. אחד נתן דחיפה ימינה, השני שמאלה, והאונייה התחילה להתפרק כמו לגו. בחיפה הורידו את האנשים, עשו עליהם פליט עם כל הכעס שהיה להם, והעבירו אותנו לאוניות, ל3 אוניות. זו הייתה אוניית אסירים, הם זרקו את כל התרמילים. אנשים נשארו כמו שעלו, בלי בגדים, בלי שום כלום.
Undeterred, the overcrowded, unseaworthy vessels of Aliyah Bet continued to challenge the blockade. Young Jewish fighters, aided by their non-Jewish sailors, succeeded in bringing more than 70,000 Jews home to the land of their forefathers in more than 100 vessels.
We came to the port of Haifa on the boat called Argentina. One of the boats of Hagana who've been caught maybe an hour or half an hour earlier, and they were singing all of a sudden Hatikva. And we also started to sing Hatikva. It was a very emotional, something that one does never forget.
Those who made it ashore were swiftly smuggled into the future Jewish state by daring activists from Keren HaYesod and elsewhere. Evading capture, the new arrivals were taken to kibbutzim and other new communities to live as free Jews in their own land, fulfilling the dreams of countless generations before them. And in doing so, they brought to life Zechariah's prophecy, "Not by might and not by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord."
זה המקום היחיד שאתה יודע שאתה בארץ שלך, על הקרקע שלך, כמו כל עם נורמלי אחר.
Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
Read your Bible. The city of Haifa does not appear in the Bible. The city of Tel Aviv does appear in the Bible, but it's not a city in the land of Israel. It's a city in Babylonia. Ashkelon, Ashdod, the major cities of Israel today, those were Philistine cities throughout much of the biblical period. What were the Jewish cities of the land of Israel during the Bible? They were Bethlehem, they were Jericho, they were Hebron, and of course Jerusalem. The lands of Judea and Samaria, often referred to by the world as the West Bank, are the ancestral homelands of the Jewish people. They are our tribal lands in the way that members of Native American tribes would have tribal lands. And for anybody in the world to say that a Jewish person cannot live in his or her tribal lands would be unthinkable. Certainly in any other context, would not say a member of the Sioux Nation or of the Navajo Nation couldn't live in their native lands, their tribal lands, would be unthinkable. So too is it unthinkable here. These lands are part and parcel of our Jewish identity. They are our ancient heritage, our patrimony. And as Israel remains committed to peace and understands that there's another people who also view these lands as their homelands, we will never, ever concede our right to all of these lands because they belong to us by virtue of our history, our tradition, and of course, of our faith. Judea and Samaria are the tribal lands of the Jewish people. Have any doubt about it? There's a book I can recommend. It's actually the world's biggest bestseller. It's called the Bible.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
Just recently here in Israel we were celebrating the Passover holiday. On the evening before the first holiday, on Erev Pesach, the whole nation comes to a standstill and they celebrate in their families the deliverance from Egypt more than 3,500 years ago. But what if you don't have the financial means to celebrate? And it's exactly here where the Christian Embassy comes in. Over the last year, we helped countless families all across Israel to celebrate Passover in a proper way, thanks to the help of many donors like you.
My name is Ronit. My mother died before 3 years. She has a cancer. And my father died because he was old and he has a lot of problem in his kidneys, in his heart. And my sister had before 32 years cancer, and it came back before a month and a half. And before 1 month she died. And my problem is that I had a meningioma. So 1 year I'm home and I'm not working, and it's very hard for me, all the situation. But I decided to take the good things of all this problem, because if all the time I will take the hard things, it's not a good life. What you're doing for me, it's really a nice present and a really nice feeling. I'm really exciting now, and I really appreciated all what you gave me and to the other people that they need help.
One day it was a call into the door, and Pnina from Christian Embassy appeared in our life with a lot of food and what is much more important, with their love and with their willing to support. We were very lucky because not we ourselves find the friends. The friends found us. We are becoming like members of the big family. Because Ilya got sick, seriously, very seriously sick, we were prohibited to move to another climate zone. And we stayed in Russia for 20 years struggling with this disease. But last year, we finally managed to come. Today, we are very happy because we got beautiful presents. In fact, we didn't expect so, but thank you all, because these things are important for life. The food, matzah and money, but what is more important? That we feel to be the members of the community, that we are not alone, that we are supported, we feel love. Some people are praying for us, and Ilya feels he's becoming stronger. And me, I was in a deep depression some moments of my life, and now it's not so. It is better. Thank you for your love. Thank you.
Я очень благодарен людям, которые приходят, помогают и поддерживают нас. Очень приятно чувствовать теплоту их сердец. Огромное спасибо всем, кто поддерживает нас. Спасибо.
I really want to thank you for your contribution, for assisting us to help people like Ilya and Lena here in the land of Israel. I really want to encourage you to stand with us also during the year. According to the Israeli government, more than 20% of its population is living below the poverty line. And your help empowers us to help also those people. So thank you so much for standing with us, and may the Lord bless you richly out of Jerusalem.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.